Well, thank you so much for waiting us out. Thank you. Welcome back. This is Peter Godinez, your ambassador. Welcome back to Good Morning Oxnard, KADYTV.net. Again, this is a segment we are really getting good at, and I think I'd say, how do you improve on perfection? We have, again, another world champion boxer who will knock you out in the first round, George Miller of the Citizens Journal, and he's going to tell us some things that you don't know about, that the rest of the media may not cover. So always like to start off with, tell us, make us wise, enlighten us, oh great one, I'm not worthy. So you go ahead and come and let it out. What's going on?
Well, obviously the biggest news last week was the Salsa Festival.
A lot of spice. Yeah.
I had never been to the Salsa Festival.
That was quite a shock, I'm sure.
It really was a shock. I thought it was a bunch of little booths in the park there, and it wouldn't be a big deal. When I got there, I was astounded at how many people were there. I was astounded at the range of activities and crafts and the dancing, the booths. I was astounded that it went all the way up and down B Street and over into Fifth Street, not just in Plaza Park. It's definitely worth the trip. And unlike some other local events, it's free. You can actually find a place to park, and it's affordable.
That's really amazing about the parking. You just have to walk three miles to get to it, or take a shuttle.
3 blocks away, I walked down Fifth Street. So it was doable. It's not like I had to take a shuttle for half an hour like going to the Ventura County Fair.
Oh, shoot.
But I went to the sampling booth, and for $5, you do not walk out hungry.
You're pretty full then,
You get 10 tickets, a bag of chips, and an amazing variety. And they delivered more than they promised. One booth had 7 different kinds of salsa.
Oh man, it's from spice to major spice.
Spice to fruit, there was strawberry, there was mango, there was all different flavors, all different textures. So it was a really good sampling of everything that's available in town. But also going on, a lot of people may not be aware, the city sponsors a Concert in the Park series, which is 3 times a week. Every Friday night at 6 at Heritage Square, there's a concert. Every Saturday afternoon at 4, there's another concert in Channel Islands Harbor down on Peninsula Boulevard, south of the bridge on the right-hand side. You can't miss it when you drive down there. And then on Sunday at 6 o'clock at the collection behind Target, there's another series of concerts. And these are all, quote, free. They're not really free. We pay for the taxes and also donations as well.
Might as well utilize it, right?
It's a really good evening of entertainment. Just show up, bring a chair.
Bring a chair.
They don't provide seating unless you pay extra.
And they sell chairs somewhere in that.
I think you can rent a chair, you can bring a chair. There even some in Heritage Square, you have to bring a chair because it's crowded.
Now, what kind of music?
It's everything. I mean, there's Latino music, there's rock, there's country, there's a whole variety. If you just Google Concert in the Park series Oxnard, you can get a schedule of who's playing and when every week. But just think about it: Friday, Saturday, and Sunday every week from 4th of July through Labor Day. So I recommend it. Well, that's on a bright note. On a not so bright note, last night at the City Council meeting, our new fighting councilman, Bert Carrillo, made some very serious allegations. Basically, he talked about first the desalter plant. Some of you know that we spent hundreds of millions of dollars to build a desalter plant with a capacity of 7.5 million gallons a day. And it stopped working in December of 2011 and was down until a couple of weeks ago. And we can't even agree on exactly why it was down. We were told last night by the city that it was down because some sand got into the membranes which help separate salt from fresh water. And it was $1.5 million worth of membranes. They had to shut down the system and solve the problems. Somehow that problem did not get solved until people raised hell in June and said, let's get this thing up and running again. And I guess that Grant Nyhoff is one of the moving factors behind that. The desalter is running again, but we didn't know that it's only running at half the capacity. We didn't really know why it was down. But it turns out not only was the desalter down for over 2.5 years, which cost us, depending on who you talk to, somewhere between $8 and $24 million in additional water that we had to import at very high prices, close to, I think, $1,000 per acre foot. An acre foot is a foot deep water in an acre. As you can imagine, that's quite a bit of water. So we're talking about an enormous amount of water that had to be imported because because our expensive desalter was not working. And then Bert peeled away another layer of the onion. He said, well, I don't think it was really sand. He said, there's a problem. We have a tank that we use to make additives to the water, and it turns out that tank actually was used by the oil industry before, and possibly also for leaching chemicals at one point too. Now that's verboten. You don't take a tank that was used in the oil industry and use it for drinking water. That just isn't done. And it turns out there was an error of something called the chain of custody. In other words, tracking how that tank was used from place to place. It turns out that it was never clear to the company that we got the tank from that we were going to use it for potable water treatment. So that's a serious problem. That's got to be resolved. So those are some pretty serious things. Now, Bert was also very adamant in making sure that we have better protection for whistleblowers in the town. There are allegations that whistleblowers in the past have been harassed, fired, lost their careers, possibly even died because of that. And he mentioned the case of Phil Molina, who he said was a whistleblower who lost his job as a result. Now that's a dispute, why exactly he lost the job, but that was a poster boy given at last night's meeting. So we have some big issues here. We have something that costs the city millions of dollars because of a breakdown, a very long time to recover it. We have dispute as to why that happened, how it was resolved, and whether or not we can protect employees who step forward. Now, this public works situation is only one of many. Quite a few people have come to Bert and to the new city manager, Greg Nyhoff, about things that are not going right. These are not necessarily crimes. In some cases, these are just things that could be done better. And the question is, well, why aren't these things coming out through the normal chain of command? I haven't been a management consultant for 25 years. I can tell you why they don't come out. It's called human nature. People do not like to talk about bad news, and there's not always a good mechanism for surfacing these problems and bringing them up through the ranks. Last night, Mr. Roshanian, who's the acting director of Public Works, said, well, my door is open. If you have a problem, please come and talk to me, talk to your supervisor, talk to whoever you think would be receptive to solving the problem. Now, people don't naturally do that. There's a reticence of people to come out and break the status quo. There's a reticence of people to tell bad news. There's a reticence of people to risk their own careers and jobs in doing that. So the question is, how do you make it more receptive? Well, being in management for 45 years, a very popular method that surfaced during the 1980s was called MBWA. It stands for Management by Walking Around. I know it sounds almost ridiculously simple, but sometimes just getting out in the field and talking to people and establishing relationships breaks down those barriers and makes it more likely to happen. But so much for that subject. The even bigger news that happened last night is that the City Council voted to again extend the moratorium on power plant approvals and construction. Those of you who heard our July 2nd report heard a lot more detail. If you haven't heard it, you can go back because KADY has video on demand. Go to kadytv.net. Go into the website, you can see any program as far back as we started, which was, late June, I guess, before even I got involved. And in there, you'll see the background behind the power plant. But a quick summary, environmentalists and locals in the majority want to eliminate power plants along the coast. This was, in fact, specified in the general plan, but not clearly enough, nor was it properly incorporated in the coastal plan. And as a result, the city doesn't have as much leverage as it wants to prevent further development. So there were some really interesting arguments last night. We heard people such as the Sierra Club, CAUSE, local officials. We heard from NRG, the power plant company that runs both power plants right now that Mayor Tim Flynn mentions, have combined output greater than that of the two nuclear plants individually in California, down in Oceanside and up in Diablo Canyon. So we have 2 gigawatts of generating capability right now, right in town, which is enough to more than power the whole thing. The last thing, also very important, as you know, we're in the middle of a serious drought. We talked about water a couple of weeks ago. The city last night resolved to release ordinances restricting water, making mandatory restrictions on water consumption that would include things like watering lawns, would also provide incentives to change landscaping, put out orders on the total amount in your bill, but they haven't figured out exactly how to do that. We don't know what the penalties will be, what the fines will be, and what the incentives will be. Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez mentioned that she wants to put the stress on incentives. She feels that's a better way of changing behavior. Now, unfortunately, since we started this whole thing of warning people about water, consumption has actually gone up, not down, in total. That doesn't mean that every person is using more, but it means in the aggregate, the entire city, when you consider residential areas, industry, agriculture, is actually using more water. So they're going to have to get a lot tougher. So effective August 1st, the new watering regulations go in place, but we know it's going to take some time to inform everyone, so no enforcement will take place initially, but the restrictions are officially in effect as of August 1st. And last, of course, the Ventura County's fair is now underway, probably the biggest event in Ventura County. I think 55,000 people showed up for the Salsa Festival, estimate. There are hundreds of thousands that go to the fair, and you should be one of them. Thank you, and please remember to log on to citizensjournal.us on the web, or you can see us on Facebook, Citizens Journal Ventura County. Thank you.
Thank you, Doris. Keep on preaching the truth. Thank you.